If you keep getting ignored, ghosted, or treated like an option, it's not just bad luck. There's a reason. And no, it's not because you're not good enough, or because women only want bad boys. It's because you're doing things that might feel right in the moment, being too nice, giving too much, opening up too early. But those exact actions make you look weak over time. See, Machiavelli wasn't a dating coach. He didn't write about love. He wrote about power, influence, control. But if he saw how some men behave with women today, constantly chasing, explaining themselves, giving their time and energy for free, he'd shake his head and say, "Stop trying to be liked. Start being respected." Because attraction isn't about always being available. It's not about showing how much you care. It's about how you carry yourself, what energy you bring into the room, and how you move when you're not getting what you want. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 things you should never do with a woman. If you want to stop being seen as just nice and start being seen as a man who holds his ground, someone she's not just comfortable with, but curious about, someone she respects. And if you stay until the end, I'll share the most important mindset shift Machiavelli would want every man to make, especially if you're tired of feeling like you're always giving more than you get. Let's get into it. Rule 1. Don't over-explain yourself. There's nothing less attractive than a man who constantly justifies everything he says or does. When you over-explain, you don't look kind, you look insecure. You give the impression that you're waiting for permission to exist, and that kills the energy. In dating, you say no to a last-minute plan and then follow up with 3 paragraphs to explain why. You make a small mistake, and instead of owning it calmly, you start apologizing like it's the end of the world. In real life, at work, school, even with friends, the guy who always feels the need to justify every choice gets treated like someone who needs to be managed. What to do instead? Say less. Stand on your words. Let your no be a full sentence. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. Confidence is quiet. And that silence? It speaks louder than any excuse. Rule 2. Don't make her the center of your world. This one hurts, because most guys do it without even realizing. They meet a woman they really like, and suddenly, their routine, their plans, their priorities, all revolve around her. You cancel gym to FaceTime. You stop hanging with your boys to stay available. You check your phone every 2 minutes hoping she replied. Machiavelli would call this a dangerous move, because when you hand over your center of gravity, you lose power. And when she becomes the prize, you stop being one. In relationships, this creates imbalance. She starts to feel like she can pull your strings, not because she's evil, but because you let her be the sun, while you orbit around. What to do instead? Stay in your rhythm. Let her enter your world, not replace it. Be a man with a mission, a schedule, a life that doesn't pause because she texted, "Hey." That's what creates polarity. You become the man she wants to catch up to, not the one always waiting. Rule 3. Don't try to earn her respect. Respect isn't something you perform for. It's something you carry in the way you walk, speak, and make decisions. The minute you try to earn it by proving how nice, helpful, or available you are, you've already lost it. In everyday life, you offer rides, favors, gifts, hoping she'll see how great you are. But she doesn't see greatness. She sees neediness. Not because kindness is bad, but because unearned giving feels off. Machiavelli would say, never give power to someone who hasn't shown loyalty. What to do instead? Lead with value, not with validation. Be respectful, be solid, but never audition for someone's attention. You don't win respect by giving everything. You earn it by giving the right things to the right people at the right time. Rule 4. Don't be too emotionally available too soon. Vulnerability isn't bad, but it needs to be earned. When you pour your heart out in week 1, talk about your trauma. Say, "I'm falling for you," before you even know who she is. You don't build connection. You build pressure. In early dating, you overshare because you want her to feel close. But what she feels is that you've already chosen her, without her doing anything. And that removes the tension, the excitement, the chase. On social media, you post long captions about heartbreak. You make your sadness public. You think it shows depth, but most people see it as instability. In relationships, every disagreement becomes a dramatic reveal. Every silence triggers a long emotional text. You think you're being honest, but really, you're being impulsive. Machiavelli would say, "The one who reveals too much too early gives power without knowing." What to do instead? Talk with calm. Share in pieces. Let her wonder what you're thinking. Make her curious, not overloaded. Your presence should feel centered, grounded, rare, not messy, needy, or overwhelming. Rule 5. Don't stay just because you're afraid to start over. This is the most dangerous trap of all. You see the red flags, you feel the disrespect, but you stay because you're tired of dating, because you don't want to be alone, because you've already invested too much. And that's how average relationships turn toxic. Not because the woman is evil, but because you ignored your own voice. In dating, she flirts with others in front of you. She mocks your boundaries, and you make excuses because the thought of starting over feels worse than staying stuck. In relationships or marriage, you stop talking about your needs. You try to tolerate what's making you shrink. You lose parts of yourself trying to keep the relationship whole. Machiavelli would say, "Your greatest loss comes when you delay the inevitable." What to do instead? Walk away early, when something feels off, even if it's uncomfortable. Respect yourself before you ask anyone else to. And if she comes back? Cool. But you don't wait, because the man who fears loss always loses. To make this even more real, let's look at a few everyday moments where most men slip, and how a simple shift in posture can change everything. 1. When she pulls away after a few great dates, you've been seeing her, things seem to go well, and suddenly she starts replying slower, seems distant, less engaged. Most guys panic. They double text. They ask what went wrong. They try to fix it. But the Machiavellian move? You don't react emotionally. You don't chase the loss. You match her pace, go silent, and return your energy to your life. That quiet withdrawal creates mystery. She wonders why you're not reacting. That tension is often what reignites attraction, not the long text you almost sent. 2. When she disrespects your time or attention. Let's say she's late, constantly, or she cancels plans last minute without explanation. Most men pretend it's no big deal. They say it's okay just to stay likable. But here's the thing. Every time you accept being treated like an afterthought, you teach her that you don't value yourself. The strategic move? Don't get angry, don't argue. Just adjust your access. Be a little less available next time. Move on with calm, silent confidence. Respect follows the man who doesn't need to demand it. 3. When she tests your emotions. It could be a sarcastic comment. a playful jab, a moment where she wants to see how solid you really are. Insecure men get defensive. They try to correct her, explain themselves, prove their worth. But the man who holds power doesn't flinch. He stays calm, maybe even smiles. He doesn't take the bait. Why? Because being unshakable is attractive. And most women aren't trying to hurt you when they test you. They're subconsciously checking if they can trust your strength. Now, before we wrap up, let me leave you with something that might shift the way you move from today forward. The truth is, most men lose not because they're weak, but because they give too much of themselves before it's earned. You think showing care, availability, and vulnerability early on builds connection, but in reality, it often creates imbalance. Machiavelli understood that respect isn't given to those who over-explain or overgive. It's given to those who move with clarity and restraint. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth and start acting like your time, energy, and presence matter, everything shifts. You don't need to chase, convince, or explain yourself into attraction. You just need to stop handing over power to people who only value it when it's gone. Real strength is calm. It doesn't yell. It doesn't rush. It doesn't beg. So stop trying to earn love through effort. Start moving like a man who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. That's the version of you that people respect. That's the energy women remember. And that's when you stop getting overlooked. Because you finally stopped overlooking yourself. If this spoke to you, don't just keep it in your head. Write a comment, even just a few words. It helps you remember, and it might help someone else too. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this content, and share this with someone who, in your eyes, needs it right now. Just trust your instinct. We're all trying to get clearer, more solid inside. So let's build minds that don't break.